Hello and welcome to Giddy Knits episode number 18. I am Helen and this is a knitting and hand dyeing podcast, and I'm coming to you as usual from Surrey in the United Kingdom, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys Arthur, who's nearly 4, and Jasper, who is 11.5 months. Today is Thursday the 19th of October, and as usual recently anyway, I'm recording on a Thursday, but I imagine this will go up on Saturday. But just so you know where I am in the week, it's Thursday. So I just want to start with a hello and welcome to everybody, existing viewers and new viewers. Thank you for checking me out if you're new, and as usual, thank you so much for coming back if you've watched me before. Okay, if you like what you see today, let's get all this stuff out the way first. If you like what you see today, please hit the thumbs up down below. That gets the video out there a little bit more and gets me seen. And if you enjoy, then feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, which I think is here somewhere, or here, I don't know. Anyway, hit the subscribe button down below and that will keep you up to date with any videos that I upload. Show notes for the episode can be found on my website and also in our Ravelry group. They will be linked down below. The website is www.giddyyarns.com, and as usual I'll put that on the screen, but it will be linked down below. And our Ravelry group can be found on Ravelry, obviously. Just search Giddy Knits podcast in the groups tab on Ravelry. It's quite a quiet group, so I was just going to take a couple of minutes to remind everybody of what is there. I've got various threads open in the group. There's an Ask Me Anything thread, so if you've got any questions that you'd like me to answer on the podcast or in the group, then please head over there and stick them there. There's a What Are You Crafting thread, because I'd love to know what everybody else is making, what you're all crafting. And see, I've forgotten what else is there. There's also the episode thread, obviously, which has got all the show notes in, and you can watch the video through that as well. But yeah, come over to the Ravelry group and chat. It would be lovely to get to know you. And come and introduce yourselves, as I said. Anyway, that's the Ravelry group, and that's my little please come and talk to me moment. And as I said, they'll be linked down below. And that's where, as I said again, I'm repeating myself now, show notes. Show notes can be found on the website and they can be found in the Ravelry group, and both of those places will be linked down below in the drop down bar, hopefully. Okay, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Giddy Helen, and you can find my hand dyed yarn as Giddy Yarns on Instagram. As I said in previous weeks, but for anyone that's new, I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns, which is a relatively new Etsy shop. But you can find my yarn on Instagram as Giddy Yarns, and you can also find any information about my yarn on my website, which is giddyarns.com. And hopefully I will have put all of those up at the bottom of the screen like I usually do. Okay, I think that's all the introductory stuff. First off, I just want to say I'm sorry about the light this week. It's very, very grey and very, very rainy outside. And I did try with the overhead light on, but it really threw things off, and I think the natural light is the best light that we're going to get. So I'm just going to hope that the light isn't too horrendously dark. I am sat right in front of the window, so fingers crossed. Also, little random one, I'm going to try and work on my ums. When I was editing last week, I realised I said a lot, and I know I do, and I've said it before. I in life, I all the time. But I was very aware of it when I was editing last week. See, I've just done it then. And yeah, I had a comment a few weeks ago about my umming. And to be fair, I'm of the opinion that if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. What was the point? You know, if it irritates you, if it annoys you, then there's plenty of other podcasts out there that you can watch. So go and watch those. But I'll work on it, basically. Anyway. That's enough of random nonsense for the moment. What have I got for you this week in terms of knitting content? Okay, I have got a couple of finished objects. I have got some whips, works in progress that is. I've got a new cast on to show you. I have got a little bit of yarny goodness. I have got some shop news, and then I will finish off as usual with my behind the scenes section. And yes, I'm looking down at my show notes. I will try not to do that. Okay, so let's delve straight in with finished objects. So what do I have for you this week? I have got 2 finished objects this week. I will start with the littlest one. I finished Arthur's socks, and here they are. These are just little socks. They don't match, as you can tell, but they're stripy socks for Arthur. He picked out this wool ages ago, absolutely ages ago, and he said he wanted me to knit him socks. And I have done, finally, eventually. So here they are. Let's come up. I haven't got sock blockers that will fit this size of sock, but he has a pair. Here they are. And I knit these out of Knit Picks Felici, okay, in the toucan colourway. And this is my first time using Felici yarn, but I really like it. It's very, very soft. It's very soft, and it was lovely to work with. I enjoyed the stripes. Obviously, it got quite thick stripes with these because of the small circumference of the sock. And I didn't really use a pattern for these. As I said before, I kind of adapted the... oh, see, I know I'm really catching myself saying and it's annoying me. I'm sorry. I adapted the recipe that knitting expat Mina Phillips put up on her Instagram feed for baby socks. So instead of casting on, I think, 40 stitches or something, I cast on 44 stitches for Arthur. I did 15 rows of, well, actually, I don't even know if I did 15 rows of rib. I did rib until the colour changed, basically. I went by the stripes with these. I then did 3 stripes, let's come a bit closer. I then did 3 stripes of the colour for the leg. I put in a German short row heel, and I did use a Drops Fable just in a light grey. It's their light pearl grey colourway. I can never remember the number. But I put that in so as not to break up the stripes, and then I ended up doing sort of 3 stripes and then the toe. So I had to have a little bit of a play with the toe, because I think, as I mentioned last week, when I showed these last week, which one was the one I did first? This was the one I knit first, actually. When I showed these last week, I'd had to rip the toe back, which is why this one wasn't finished, because it ended up being too short. So I'd ripped the toe back. But then the nice thing, of course, was that for the second sock, I was just able to count the number of rounds that I'd done and when I put the toe in. So it was much easier to get this one to the same length. So these are fine. These fit him. And hopefully, now that I've shown them on the podcast, you can start wearing them. Considering how ecstatic he was about the wool when I first got the wool for him, he didn't really seem that fussed about the socks. But I'm hoping that if I get him in a better mood on a better day, he will be better. So you have a bit of that thing, don't you? You know, you have them terrible twos and everything like that. And I think the one I hear most at the moment is that you have a three-nager, as in a 3-year-old teenager. I totally have a three-nager at the moment. And I don't know what he turns into when he turns 4, but yeah, he's definitely a three-nager. Grumpy, emotional, chaos. Anyway, he's 3. He'll grow out of it. So this is my first finished object. That is Arthur's little Knit Picks Felici socks. And the Felici yarn, which is, there's the rest of the ball, I didn't mention, is a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So it's super soft. And I'm hoping, I haven't weighed this yet, I haven't weighed the socks yet to know how much I use, but I was thinking I might actually be able to get a little pair of mittens for Jasper, or Arthur for that matter, out of these leftovers, which would be quite fun. This is the only Felici I've got, so I can't even kind of... See, if I'd had 2 balls of this, I might have been able to get a pair of socks for me and a pair of socks for Arthur out of the 2 balls, but I won't manage to get a pair of socks for me out of less than 50 grams of yarn. Okay, so we will move on now to my second finished object. And I finished Tom's hat. So here it is. And this is the Violet Waffles hat, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Haldora J. Screen keeps turning off. By Haldora J. And I showed this as a new cast on last week. And I will put this on so that you can get a bit of a better idea of what it's going to look like, even if it does mess up my hair. And let's come a bit closer so you can see. There you go. So it's basically a broken rib pattern. It is a free pattern, so I'm not too worried about telling you too much about it. Basically a broken rib, broken 2x2 rib. But yeah, he's very, very happy with it. It fits him really nicely. It fits me quite nicely as well, actually, if the camera would decide to focus on me instead of the thing. And he's very, very happy with it. And the yarn is River Knits in their Indian Giant Squirrel colourway. And it's these lovely autumnal colours with reds and greens and yellows and oranges. And it's so hard to describe all the colours that are in this yarn. It really is. But it is absolutely beautiful. And it was a dream to knit with. And it is, there we go, as I said, it's River Knits. And it's 100% superwash BFL. It was a DK weight yarn, and the colourway name is Indian Giant Squirrel, which I think really appealed to Tom as well when he chose it. And he chose this at Fibre East, which I think I mentioned before. So yeah, he's really, really happy with it. I will try actually, and if I remember, insert that side, probably just there, a really awkward picture of Tom modelling this, which I took for Instagram because it's very funny. But he's really, really happy with it. And it is really nice. It's really soft, actually, with the 100% BFL. I mean, it's not merino soft, obviously, but I'm pretty sure I could definitely wear it as a hat. Obviously, I think I could wear this against my skin and not be too irritated by it. Could definitely do gloves, definitely a hat, obviously socks. Well, not 100% BFL. I don't think I. Well, maybe BFL's quite strong. You probably could, probably better than 100% merino. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So yeah, so that is my second finished object for the week. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. It was a really easy pattern, pretty quick actually. It came to work with me for a couple of nights so that when I had my break, I had something simple to knit on. And yeah, this was just really, really, really simple, really quick project, and I'm glad I got it done. And he loves it. And actually, I've still got a reasonable amount of this yarn left, and I'm not sure how much this is. I've not weighed it yet, but I'm thinking there must be enough there to be able to make a hat for Jasper. Because I knit him last winter. I knit him the barley hat, the Tin Can Knits barley hat from the Simple collection. And I put that on him the other day now that the weather's turned a bit colder. And it is a bit small. It's not quite covering his ears. Although it still fits around his head, it's a bit high. So I'm thinking that I need to knit him another hat for the winter. I need to knit Arthur another hat for the winter as well. But I need to have a little think and dig out some yarn and see what I've got. But anyway, I think I might get a hat for Jasper out of this. And I'm actually thinking maybe is it the Bumble hat by Tin Can Knits? I don't know. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the pattern name, but I'm not sure if that's the hat I'm going to do. I could do him another barley hat. I liked the barley hat. It was really cute, and it's free, and I've already got the pattern. But I like the idea of trying something new. I don't know. Anyway, this is destined, I think, to become a hat for Jasper. So, that's my finished objects. Let me have a slurp of tea. And we will move on to whatever comes next. Works in progress. And I've got quite a few works in progress to show you this week. So let me have a little think. Let me turn my show notes over so that I don't forget anything. Okay, yeah, let us start with this one here. And I will just show you this one quickly because I haven't got very far on it. This is my Central Park socks. And I think last time I recorded, I was, I'm all tangled up in yarn. Last time I recorded, I was just here. So I've put the heel in, and I'm about halfway down the foot, but this hasn't seen a lot of work, I'm afraid, this week. I've had quite a busy week, which I'll go into later, and I've been kind of invested in a couple of other projects, to be fair. But I'm loving it, and as I said before, this is... Actually, I wonder if I can put this on my sock blocker. I've never actually tried putting it on the sock blocker while it's on the needles, but I'm sure I can. Anyway, I'm mumbling to myself again now, isn't it? I should be talking to you. So, this, as I said before, yes, I can get it on the sock blocker, just about. You'll be able to see the holes at the side of my heel that I need to sew up, but this is the Central Park socks from the New York Sock Club, which is the pattern collection by Knitting Expat, Mina Phillips of Knitting Expat, which I've been talking about for ages because I've been knitting all of their patterns this year. All of her patterns this year. All of the patterns from the club this year. As you'll know if you've been watching. So this is pattern number 5? No, number 6. As I mentioned, these are all the other ones, which is how I know. This is pattern number 6, and this is sock number 1. So I've still got quite a lot of catching up to do. But, as I showed you before, the yarn that I'm using is Paper Stories, and it's her Shell Cottage colourway. And it's just this gorgeous... The colours are actually coming up very, very well there. It's this gorgeous sort of peachy colours with blues, peachy pinks with blues. It's got sandy colours. And it is, as I said, Shell Cottage. Which is a Harry Potter yarn. And it is gorgeous. So I need to sit down and work on these, really. But yeah, I've been busy and I've been working on other things, as you do. But this does not mean that I don't love the project, and it doesn't mean that I don't love the yarn, because the yarn is beautiful. And yeah, it's just stunning. The yarn is a 75% superwash blue-faced Leicester. No, yes, 75% superwash blue-faced Leicester, 25% nylon. And I've actually got her label here. I don't know if I remember I had this last week. If my camera will focus. Come on, camera. There we go. Paper Stories. And the colourway is Shell Cottage. And she has an Etsy shop, which will all be linked in the show notes. Oh, come on, focus, camera. There we go. Yeah, so that'll all be linked in the show notes, so you'll be able to have a look and check out her colourways. She had a lot of Harry Potter colourways, so if you are a Harry Potter lover, then it is a good place to look for Harry Potter colourways, and for British indie dyed wool as well, which most of the stuff I knit with is British indie dyed wool, to be fair. Okay, so that was my first work in progress. Not a lot has been done on it, I'm afraid, but these things happen. Okay, so moving on to my second work in progress. This has seen rather a bit more work. And this is Arthur's Metamorphic jumper, which, as I showed before, it's a pattern by Lisa K. Ross, who's also known as Paper Daisy Creations. And this is the jumper there. It's the Metamorphic. And I'm knitting this for Arthur out of Drops Superfine Merino. I used the Drops Baby Merino for his previous jumper, and I've been quite happy with how it knit up, and I'm quite happy with how it's been washing. So I thought I would use this, basically. And as I showed you before, he chose the colours, and they're grey and purple. But this has seen quite a bit more work on it. So when I showed you it last, I was... Ooh, oh yes, I do. I thought I put a little progress keeper on here to remind me of where I was. I hadn't done a lot, to be fair, when I showed this to you last time. I was there. I don't even know if I'd joined in the round yet for the neck. I was just up there. But, as you can see, I've made significant progress. So the needles are a little bit small to be able to show you clearly, and there are an annoying amount of ends hanging all over the place. But let's see what we can do. So here we go. So I've done all the colour work on the front, which I'm very pleased with. I'm going to scoot a bit closer. Oops, sorry, dropped the camera at the same time. So that I can see if I can kind of show off this colourwork a little bit better, because I'm very, very pleased with how the colourwork has gone. I'm not a big colourwork knitter. I really haven't done much. I've knit one jumper for Arthur previously, which was Fair Isle, but it was far too complicated. And although it came out all right, it put me off. I think at one point I had 3 colours on the go at the same time in the same row. This was a lot more simple, and as you can see, I only ever had 2 colours at once, which made it a lot easier. And I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and I kind of want to knit more colourwork now. I've been thinking of knitting some colourwork mittens, and this has definitely inspired me to knit some colourwork mittens. Yeah, it's a little bit lumpy and bumpy in places, but considering it's first time colourwork, that's not really, yeah, it'll be fine. And it'll block. When I block it, hopefully it'll block out a little bit more. So I'm kind of at the stage now where I need to knit the body to, I don't know, about 9 inches or something like that. I'm going to go a little bit longer than the pattern suggests because Arthur is quite tall. He's quite tall and skinny, so I think I'm going to go just a little bit longer than the pattern suggests. And then I do the sleeves, and the sleeves have the colourwork on them as well. But yeah, it's coming along really, really well. Oh, and then obviously I pick up for the neck, and it's got a, is it a Henley? I don't know what it's called. It's got that collar. You can see. Oops, see if you can see there. So yeah, I'm just working down the body at the moment, and the nice thing is that there's no shaping on the body. So this is at the stage now where actually it's just stocking stitch round and round and round. So this can become my take anywhere really easy knitting project now that the colourwork is done. And the yarn, as I said, it's drops Superfine Merino, and I'm using 3 colours. So I've got colour number 5, which is this light grey. I've got colour number 21, which is this dark purple. And then I've got colour number 22, which is this sort of lighter purple. And I'm just hoping, I don't think it's coming up too girly, which is not, it's not a big worry. Arthur will love it anyway. But I think with the grey and the dark purple, I think it's going to be fine. I had a moment when I started adding in the pale purple where I thought to myself, ooh, this is starting to look quite girly. But actually, once I put the darker purple in, I'm not concerned. He'll love it. He's really happy about it already. Every time he sees it and says it's purple, he's more than happy. But yeah, this has seen quite a lot of progress this week. I was, yeah, just here, where I have put, to mark my progress on Arthur's jumper, of course, we have got, ooh, which I can't quite show you. There we go. We've got a purple sparkly dinosaur progress marker. Had to be, didn't it? Okay, so that's Arthur's Metamorphic, which is another work in progress, and I'm hoping I'll get the body finished in the next couple of weeks. So I should be on the sleeves when I next talk to you. Okay, so I've got one more work in progress, but I need a little drink. Okay, so my next work in progress is something that I just constantly want to work on, and I'm sure if you've watched before you'll have a bit of an idea as to what this is. This is my breathing space sweater for me, and I am obsessed with it. I love it. I am enjoying this knit so much. I just want to spend all my time on it. I'm currently doing short rows, so the problem is that I can't just knit on it anywhere. I can't take it to knitting group. I need to be able to sit down and focus on it. And considering how busy the last few weeks have been, which I'll talk about later on, but yeah, it's not always, I've not always been in the right frame of mind to be able to work on it. So it's not had as much progress as I would have liked. But I think we've had significant progress. Excuse the paper rustling. For those of you that don't know the pattern, this is the pattern. This is the Breathing Space sweater by Vera Valimaki. My hands are shaking, sorry. And here is my version. Let's see how well I can show you this. Ugh, not well. Okay. Yarn's trying to fall off my lap. So here we are. I mean, last time I showed this, I was... Oh, I've dropped the yarn. And my computer screen's turned off again. It's all going wrong. Right, hang on. Yarn out the way. Where's the other yarn? Yeah, okay, that's there, that's there, that's there, that's there. Right, last time I showed this to you, I was just here. So it kind of doesn't look like I've made a lot of progress, really, but I have added all of this short rows. So it's, yeah, a really awkward to show stage. I am over halfway through the short rows, is what I'm kind of trying to say. And then it goes back to being worked in the round once the short rows are completed. But I love how this is looking. I mean, look, the stripes are really, I know this is obviously very wonky. I'm not holding it up particularly well to give you a good idea, but yeah, I'm loving how the stripes are working. It looks amazing. I'm so happy with my colour choices. I think the grey has knit up beautifully, and the minty green is just gonna, yeah, it's just looking lovely. And I'm just obsessed with this. I just want to work on it all the time. I really do. It feels lovely. It's a really nice knit. Now I've got the hang of the short rows, although I need to concentrate because I have a habit of knitting past the wrap that I'm supposed to be picking up. Now I've got the hang of the short rows, I don't really need to look at the pattern every single row. I just need to make sure I'm marking off rows so that I don't get lost in the pattern. But yeah, I'm really happy. And I'm quite pleased as well with how my short rows are coming out. Let's see if I can get a bit closer there for you. I was worried. Ooh, hang on. I'm going all the wrong way. Oh, it's not working. Right, here we go. Yeah, there we go. I was worried that I was going to get holes or something ridiculous like that. And actually, I'm not at all. I think it's looking really, really good and working really, really well. So yeah, slightly obsessed with this. I just really, 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 really want to be able to work on it all the time, and I don't want to have to do anything else. I don't want to have to be an adult. I don't want to have to be a parent. I don't want to have to work. I don't want to have to dye yarn. I just want to sit and knit on this and get it finished. But unfortunately, life has to happen, doesn't it? So whenever I get chance. And I've mentioned before the yarn that I'm using, excuse me, which has completely escaped underneath the bed. And I'm using Giddy yarn, so this is my own hand-dyed yarn, in the Storm Cloud colourway. Come on. And please excuse the state of my fingernails. As I mentioned, I've been dyeing yarn. I've been dyeing quite a lot. I've been dyeing all the Christmas pre-orders, so a lot of Christmas colourways. So I've got quite stained hands at the moment, unfortunately. Anyway, this is Storm Cloud, and then the other colour is this one here, which is Spearmint. That's just a gorgeous minty blue. Yeah, so that's my Breathing Space by Vera Valimaki in Giddy Yarns, Storm Cloud and Spearmint. And I just want to sit and knit on it now, but I can't. Okay, so that is all my works in progress. I do have, however, one new cast on. And I cast something new on because I was going to a knitting event, which I will talk about later. And I wanted something in my yarn, but I wanted something that was going to be really easy and simple to knit that I didn't need to concentrate on. So I cast on a pair of vanilla socks for Tom. And this is how far I got. And this is literally the progress I made at the knitting event, actually. I haven't really worked on these since. But this is a pair of socks for Tom. Here we go. And I am knitting these out of my pumpkin patch colourway, which is a gorgeous kind of, yeah, well, pumpkin themed colourway with oranges and greens and some slight browns. The orange is really tonal with lots, there's some red and yellow sort of patches in there as well. And I'm really pleased with how this is knitting up. I think it is beautiful. Tom is completely in love with these colours. And here it is all caked up. And it is interesting that when I show it on the screen, it does lighten it somehow. I mean, those patches that look white aren't white. They are just lighter coloured, sort of pale greens and pale yellows. They aren't white. But this always seems to want to show it white. But it's not going to focus. Are you blowing the camera up? Come on. There we go. But it is nice bright orange with the greens and sort of yellows and reds and browns in there as well. So yeah, it's just a simple vanilla sock for Tom. I think I cast on 64, that wasn't my, what a mess, right. I cast on 64 stitches for him. And yeah, just a simple vanilla sock, which is just as kind of, again, a slightly mindless knit, which I've been needing in the last few weeks. So hopefully this will get a bit more progress for him. And fortunately, and nicely, thing about knitting with my yarn is that I can always use photographs of the finished object in the shop as well to give people an idea of how the colourway will knit it up. And this, the pumpkin patch, this is dyed up on my 75/25 BFL nylon. So it's a superwash BFL nylon base, which is perfect for socks. And that's my only new cast on. So yeah, that's all my knitting that is currently going on at the moment. What else did I have to share with you? I've got a little bit of yarny goodness, so let's move on to yarny goodness. Okay, so my yarny goodness is kind of a mystery box. I forgot to show this last episode, so I've had this over 2 weeks. So I'm not going to do a disclaimer warning or anything like that like I usually do with these ones, because by now everybody should have it. I've had it over 2 weeks. I completely forgot about it on my last podcast when I came to show my yarny goodness. So yeah, everybody should have received theirs by now. But this is the latest instalment of the Harry Potter yarn boxes that Peggy May Yarns has been doing. So this is the Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix inspired yarn. And here it is. It's actually coming up a lot brighter on the screen than it is in real life. But yeah, it's this sort of lovely cream, obviously sort of undyed base with orange and pink. Orange and pink colours, sort of speckled colours as well there too. It's very pretty. I've got no idea what I'm going to do with this. And actually, in real life, the colours are slightly less bright than they're coming up there. It is much more of a sort of a corally orange and a peachy, sort of a paler pink than they're coming up there. It's really, really brightening them up for some reason. But it is beautiful, beautiful colours. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing with this. It will live in my stash for a little while. And this is a 75%, I'm out of focus, sorry guys. Come back to me. Come back to me. I've moved around a bit. Oh no, don't want to. I'll just show you this instead. It's 75/25 Superwash Merino. She hasn't really given it a colourway name this time. It's literally just Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix inspired yarn. But it is a 75% Superwash Merino, 25% nylon. And details there. And it also came with a little stitch marker / progress keeper, which is a little scarf. Quite cute. And I think from what I've seen on Instagram that Diane of Peggy May Yarns is stopping dyeing. She's not going to be dyeing yarn anymore, which is a shame. But yeah, hopefully everything else goes well for her. I think she said she was going to be focusing on sort of the other sides of her business rather than the yarn dyeing. So I think she might be focusing on some patterns and things like that. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, I wish her well in whatever it is that she is hoping to do. Right, so that was my yarny goodness. So I will move on now just to a little bit of shop news. And what have I got for you this week? So I've got a couple of new things in the shop. So first of all, I've restocked Pumpkin Patch. I restocked the shop last weekend, and actually one of my skeins of Pumpkin Patch has already sold. But I have still got one skein of Pumpkin Patch in the shop, and this is on my BFL nylon base. And as you've just seen, see how it knits up, which is lovely. So I've got one skein of Pumpkin Patch still in the shop at the moment. And then I have also got a new colourway, another new wintry colourway, which is this one here. And this is Sprinkling of Frost. So it is kind of a pale blue and also a pale minty green base. It's very, very hard to get that accurately photographed, and it's just coming up pale blue here. But I think you can kind of see here where this bit here is pale blue, this bit here is a slightly darker, slightly more minty green colour. And it's just very lightly speckled with pink, purple and turquoise. And this is on my Stellina base, which I think you're seeing there. I can certainly see it on the screen. And as I said, it's a Sprinkling of Frost. So this is on my Stellina, which is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% silver Stellina. So it's lovely and sparkly and frosty. And I had two of these in the shop, but again, one of them has sold. So I've got one skein of Sprinkling of Frost left in the shop. But it is beautiful, and I kind of wish I'd dyed up an extra one for me. I always think that. Okay, and then I've got another new colourway, and that is this one here. This is actually a reimagination of a colourway. So I've had in my shop for ages Ruby Slippers, which was rubbish, and I'll admit it was rubbish. It was just a really sort of boring red on Stellina, but it was one of my original colourways, so I just kind of put it in the shop, and I kind of left it because the way Etsy works is you have 4 months. Once you've paid for a listing, you have 4 months before it has to renew. So I kind of thought, well, I might as well just leave it up in the shop, and if anybody wants it, they can have it. But as it was kind of coming up towards autumn, bonfire night, that kind of thing, I took it out the shop and I have re-dyed it. I've over-dyed it and I have turned it into something different, and I love this. So this is Bonfire Night. And it is a nightmare to photograph, so I'm really hoping that it's going to show up accurately on here. And actually, that's not too bad. So I've over-dyed this with more red, I've over-dyed it with yellow, and I've over-dyed it with orange in areas as well. So it is very, very sort of tonal colours. This bit here, as you can see, is much lighter than this bit here. This bit here is a very, very sort of ruby red, and then this bit is much more orange. And then there are patches, you can really see the Stellina, of more orangey colours and more red colours and more yellow colours. And then it's also got these areas of brown and black on there as well. And I think this is going to knit up beautifully. Actually, yeah, you are getting the colours much better on screen, I think, than they did in photographs. This was a nightmare to photograph. I mean, you're still not getting the full sort of tonality of the oranges and reds there. I think it is coming up more orange. There is more red in there. But at least you're actually getting to see that it's orange and not, it just looked red when I took the photographs, but you can really see the Stellina. And I've got another one here, which I'll see if I can just get the colours a bit better. This is not skeined up very neatly, so apologies for that. But, oh yeah, no, you can definitely see the colours better on screen. But yeah, it is gorgeous, and it's so sparkly, and it just reminds me of bonfires. It's what I was going for. So this is, yeah, Bonfire Night. And this is always going to hold quite a special place in my heart because Jasper was born on Bonfire Night. It will be his first birthday on the 5th of November this year. He is a bonfire baby, as I like to call him. And yeah, so this is quite a special colourway for me, Bonfire Night. I felt like calling it Jasper, but I thought nobody else would get the reference, so we'll stick with Bonfire Night. yeah, so that's another new colourway. So I've got 2 skeins of this in the shop currently. And again, this is on my, in case you didn't get it from all that glittering, this is on my stellina base. So it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% silver stellina. And then finally, I've got one more thing, and that is a new sock set. And I've dyed up a Christmas sock set, which is here. And this is called Christmas stocking sock set. And it is just a very, very simple kind of green and red variegated, green, red and white variegated colourway. I speckle dyed this. So I don't know if you remember Spooktacular. I dyed this up very similar to Spooktacular. I used the same technique and the same method. But it's really pretty. And I have kept one of these for myself. It's sitting just up on my shelf, just there. So I can make some Christmas socks for myself. And it comes with a red mini skein. And this has been reskeined. I don't tend to reskein my yarn. And reskeining, for anyone that doesn't know what reskeining is, it's when you basically, what I do when I reskein it is I wind up the yarn and then I put it back onto my Swift and I turn it back into a skein, but at a slightly different length. So that whereas when this is dyed up, you have red at one end and green at the other end and sort of the whiter sections in the middle, when it's reskeined, you get a much better idea of what it's going to look like knit up and how the variegation will work. And the reason I reskeined this one, which is not focusing, the reason I reskeined this one is purely because I wanted to do it with the red contrast mini for heels and toes. But when you put the two of them together, if it had sort of big sections of red at one end, big sections of green at the other end, it didn't look as good. It was very hard to tell how the contrast was going to work. Whereas seeing it like this, you know, your sock is going to look more like this. It's going to be more variegated from this yarn. So the red will work. But I think having reskeined it, it gives you a little bit of a better idea of how it's going to knit up and how the red is going to look with the main colour. So yeah, it's the first thing that I've actually reskeined for the shop, which is also why it looks a slightly different. It looks almost the same size as the mini because I've obviously reskeined it on a slightly shorter length. Yeah, but anyway, Christmas stocking, and I think I've got a couple of these in the shop. I've sold one. I've sold one to somebody very exciting, which I will talk about in a minute. So I think I've got 2 of these in the shop. And that is everything that is, well, that's not everything that's currently in the shop. There's obviously some other colourways in the shop. Go and check them out if you're interested. This is just what is new in the shop since I last spoke to you. Okay, so yeah, that is it. That's all my shop news. What have I been up to in terms of the shop though? I have been doing a lot of dyeing. I'm dyeing up all the Christmas orders at the moment. So the mini skein club and the 100-gram skeins, which drove me completely insane last night. I was supposed to dye up all the orders for the 100-gram skeins last night, and I think I got a third of the way through them all, and I realised that it was getting late and I didn't have time to finish them. So I had to set them all, and then, so it drove me a bit insane. But it's fine. They've gone back into soak today, and I will finish them tonight, and I'm hoping that once I finish podcasting, I can maybe get some other bits and pieces on. I've got some mini colourways that don't involve the powders, so I can do some of that while Jasper is playing. But that's my plan. I've cut out all the fabric for the Christmas bags, and I think my plan next week, hopefully, is to get those all sewn up. So yeah, busy, busy bee. Not that I'm complaining at all. It's amazing that the shop is going so well that I am busy. Okay, so I was just going to move on to behind the scenes. And I've got quite a bit to talk about this week. I'm just going to touch firstly on something that's been going on in terms of us, because we had a bit of a dramatic weekend a couple of weekends ago. we ended up at A&E with Jasper. He woke up at about 11:15 with a horrendous cough and really struggling with his breathing. Yeah, really struggling with his breathing. My automatic thought was croup. Arthur had croup a couple of times, and although he never needed medication for it or anything else, it's quite a recognisable sound for anyone that has experienced croup. It's basically, for those of you that don't know, it's kind of basically laryngitis, but in babies. It's quite common between the ages of 6 months and 3 years, but it's horrendous. It gives them a really sort of bark of a cough, and it also, when they get worked up, their airways swell and become inflamed. So when they get worked up or upset, they really struggle to breathe. It can be quite dangerous. We've obviously been quite lucky with it. However, we did call 111, which is the sort of NHS helpline for out-of-hours emergencies. And I was kind of expecting them to just say, right, okay, well, take him to this walk-in centre, or, you know, take him, you need to take him to this place or something like that. They called an ambulance, which, you know, at the time I was kind of like, oh, do we really need an ambulance? Is it really that bad? But actually, as one of my friends said, with croup, you never know which way it's going to go. As it happened for us, by the time the paramedic had arrived, Jasper had calmed down and his breathing was a lot better. However, obviously, if he'd stayed upset and stayed distressed, his breathing could have got worse. So it could actually have been a lot more dangerous. But the paramedic came out and he was brilliant. He listened to Jasper's breathing, did everything he could do. But he recommended we went to A&E. So I drove Jasper into A&E. The paramedic was fantastic. He followed us. He followed us in and he made sure we got parked okay. And then he met me at the entrance to A&E, and he took me through to the paediatric A&E and got us all signed in and all registered. So big shout out to the NHS and the paramedics. They were fantastic. We spent quite a long time in A&E. We got there at about midnight, and I don't think I left until 4:20 in the morning. It took us about 2.5 hours to get seen. It was very busy. Typically, once we had been seen, it got really quiet. So if it had been a few hours later, we probably would have been a lot quicker. He had to have some steroids to help with his breathing, and once he'd had the steroids, we had to actually wait at A&E for another hour to make sure that they were working before they were happy for us to go home. But he was fine, and the next day he seemed much improved. But then on Tuesday morning, he woke up with very sort of distressed breathing again. I was tempted to take him to A&E, but I actually rang the GP, and luckily they had an appointment available, so we were able to go in and take him to the GP, and she was a lifesaver, because normally they don't prescribe steroids. They like to send you to A&E, and the child should be observed after having the steroids. But I think she took pity on me, because I had Arthur, who was bouncing off the walls of her treatment room, and obviously Jasper, who wasn't well, and I was on my own at the time. So she prescribed me steroids for him, which was amazing, because it meant that I just had to go and get them from the pharmacy and give them to him. And since the second dose of steroids, he has been fine, and he is now completely back to normal, because it was over a week ago that this all happened. He is completely back to normal. I'm sorry, I'm fiddling with my hair. Let's get it out of the way. Yeah. So that was our dramatic moment in the last couple of weeks. But then the other nice thing that we did was last weekend, Saturday, we went to Brighton for the day. I went to a knitting event. So Nikki, who is Clara Peggotty on Instagram, and she's very good friends with Amy of the Stranded Dye Works podcast, Stranded podcast, who I'm sure everybody knows. She organised a knitting event in Brighton called Socks on the Beach, and I'd seen about it on Instagram, and I really wanted to go. And it was a free event. It was just kind of a turn up, everyone turn up, come and knit. We've got a few activities going on, and Brighton is about less than an hour and a half's drive from our house, so not too far at all. So we headed down there for the day. My grandma lives about 20 minutes drive from Brighton. So we parked at hers, got the bus into Brighton. Arthur, Jasper and Tom. So Tom took Arthur and the boys to the Sea Life Centre. and they had a lovely time, and I went and knitted with lots of people. I met lots of lovely new people. I got to meet Amy of the Stranded podcast, and I got to meet Ellie of Giddy Knits as well. She was there, and there were lots of other people, and it was really, really nice to spend a whole day with knitters and just chatting about knitting, and everything like that. Yeah, it was really, really, really good day. And very excitingly, I took along a sock set, a Christmas sock set, this one here, to give to Amy, for she's hosting a festive sock along at the moment, and I gave her this as a prize for the festive sock along. And very excitingly, the next day on Sunday, Amy bought one from my shop, and I'm kind of like, it's like a superstar has bought my yarn. She is an amazing dyer. She is, yeah, her yarn is amazing, absolutely amazing. She's Stranded Dye Works, the dye behind Stranded Dye Works, for anyone that doesn't know. And yeah, her yarn is amazing. It's like having a superstar buying my yarn, basically. So yeah, so it was a really, really sort of worthwhile event. I had a lovely, lovely time. I discovered a knitter who actually lives very, very close to me, who might be coming along to the knit night that I go to on a Tuesday night. So that was really nice. Hopefully making new friends. Yeah, so it was really, really fun, and I'm really looking forward to the next one that they do. Hopefully they're hoping to do one maybe in the new year. So I think that would be really, really fun. Anyway, I will leave you there, I think. I have hopefully got a few photographs of the boys at the Sea Life Centre to put in at the end. And yeah, I think I've shared everything with you. I think I've shown you everything, hopefully. Yeah. I don't know. And I will see you again in 2 weeks' time for another episode. Yeah, I hope you all have a good couple of weeks and enjoy all your knitting. See you soon. Bye.